When we moved into this house 2 years ago, we temporarily used this side table as a TV stand. And my wife suggested quite some time ago that I build a credenza. We agreed on a few things. We wanted to be able to hide the cables and such and put the speakers inside the credenza and have a couple of doors with fabric over the front. We want it to be about 2 feet high, but it has to be big enough for these speakers to fit in here. And they are 15 inches tall. Yeah, so it's about time I did something about this. So my wife and I bought some plywood for this project this weekend. We had them cut it down to a manageable size that we could fit in the car. Alright, so I've done this rough drawing here. This is not necessarily to scale. It's actually going to be narrower this way than in the drawing. It's going to be about 6 feet wide. The top is going to be 2 feet off the ground. This portion in here is going to be 16 inches because the speaker I want to fit in there is 15 inches. These measurements are all approximate. These will be about 2 feet wide. I want to end up putting doors on here. I don't know, I'll figure it out once I have this part built. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to cut them on the jigsaw because they're too big and awkward to cut on the bandsaw, and I don't have a track saw or a table saw. We have limited tools here in Camy's garage. I'm going to help myself out by putting a new blade on here. Thank you. I'm actually getting pretty clean cuts with that new blade. So I simply want to make an H pattern. So I have these reclaimed legs off another table, and I think I'm simply going to cut 6 inches off each one to make legs for the credenza. As I was thinking about putting the doors on here, I was thinking about the width. I basically want to make a picture frame like thing because there's going to be fabric in the middle. So I'm thinking a 3-inch border might be alright. I could cut this with the jigsaw as I've already done, but because it's narrow enough now and small enough, I can actually cut this on the bought some supplies at the hardware store. I got these simple metal plates to attach these pieces of plywood together. I also got some magnetic clasps for the doors. And I bought these two hinges at the same time, thinking they were identical, but they're actually not. This center part is slightly bigger on this one than this one. That'll be okay. No one will notice that. Looks good. Now that it's mostly together, I'm just going to sand off the rough edges. I have some of this iron-on edge banding that I'm going to use to cover up the edge of these pieces of plywood. So I got the iron here. I'm just letting this warm up. Alright, I went back to the hardware store and got some of this wood fill. Pink goop. So before I take these inside, I need to make a little frame to go inside this frame, because what I want is the fabric to be flush with the front. So I'm going to make a frame to attach to the inside here that will basically pinch the fabric inside this hole. And I'm going to use some strips I'm going to cut out of this leftover plywood. Alrighty, I'm here in my kitchen, and this is the fabric that I'm going to use to put in the doors. I wanted the place clean. Well, that is plenty of fabric just for that. You know, I should probably iron this fabric first. Alright, I ironed the fabric, although it's still a little bit crinkly. Just pull it snug. Are you okay with going backwards? Yeah. Okay. I knew putting the hinges on would be the most difficult part of the build in order to get the door lined up properly with the top edge of this. So what I did was I first took this hinge and I bent it around like this to make it a 45-degree angle, and put it on here. Theoretically this should be straight up and down, and then I drilled the holes. Then I did the same thing with the door. Put the hinge on there like that. I made sure I lined up the hinge with this edge of this piece of wood. Now to install this little magnetic clasp.
Okay. Step over things.
Well, I think this turned out pretty nice, despite the fact that I used simple materials and simple tools. I think the edge banding worked out better than I thought, as well as the fabric on the front. of the doors. Mainly we wanted to raise the television up, have a little bit more room to put some art on it, as well as conceal cables and things inside. What a mess. Yeah, if you look at it pretty close, there are some imperfections, but it's good enough for me, and it's probably good enough to fool anyone that comes through the door that's not necessarily a woodworker. So if you've made it this far, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time in Cammy's Garage.